please rise for the pledge? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, call roll, please.
Sturritt.
Here.
Audi.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Tonin.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
I did not properly. Ballard.
Here.
Wallach.
Yes.
Everyone has the agenda in front of them tonight. Are there any additions, deletions, or is there a motion at this time?
Madam President, I'll move that the agenda be accepted as presented.
Motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cronin. Any other discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Any citizen comment on non-agenda items? Any citizen comment? Hearing none, we have no presentations tonight. We're under administrative reports. Everyone saw the building department report and the planning commission meeting minutes of 5/6/13. Are there any other commissioner liaison reports?
Madam President, I have an update on the 2014 East Main Street. Tonight, Giffords Webster has completed the RFP and sample contract for the bidding of the 2014 East Main Street project per the lawyer's comments. With the approval of the council, the project will go out for bid this Wednesday, and the 2014 Main Street project bid opening will be set at the village offices on September 5th at 1 p.m.
Is there any questions for Mr. Ballard? Hearing none, any other commissioner liaison reports?
I have one, Madam President.
Okay.
S2 grant, Giffords Webster is working on a horizontal vertical manhole location in the next couple of weeks. They're continuing the evaluation down at the sewer plant. I did go out there the other day and observe them. Lombardo is there. And they're still on hold for the sanitary sewer line inspections. That's in September.
I also have one to add here under the water main, along with Lyle's Road project there. We have a section of water main that has to be done, and I'll be getting with Andy and getting that going also. I think it's a short section, I think between First Street and Spencer, right around there.
Yeah, right in there somewhere.
Tie things in. Everything else is new up there. So. That's all.
We wrapped up parks this year with the concerts, 6th year in a row. This year we did real well, and I think we're about 750 above with the corporate sponsorships. So we'll have those numbers at the next meeting. And there's going to be an Eagle Scout project in the park. Robert Darling is going to be putting up a Veterans Memorial plaque by our son.
When is that?
What?
When is
plaque?
that? Yeah.
They're going to have to dig it in the next couple of weeks. He's got to get approval from the main, I guess, like Eagle Scout
Okay.
thing.
Perfect. Good. Good job.
I have one.
Yes.
Michelle and I had expressed a concern that we'd gotten notification from MML that there was going to be bridge cuts, severe bridge cuts. So we did talk to Andy, and he did email me back and let us know that if that happens, it won't affect us because we're already allocated. So he said he would keep an eye on it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports? Okay, hearing none, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Everyone has the regular council meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2013, and their payment of bills. Is there anything anyone would like to pull? Any discussion, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Mr. Sturd, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Ballard. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. We have no old business. Moving on to new business. The auditor's report. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none? Let you guys take it away. No, you're good. So sturdy.
Good evening. My name is Amy Delia. I'm a staff manager at McBride Manley & Company, and I've been working on the village's financial statement audit for the last 5 years under the supervision of Curtis McBride. Financial statement audit consists of performing procedures to obtain an opinion on whether the financial statements are fairly presented and free of material misstatements. We issued again this year an unqualified opinion, which simply means we believe, as presented, the financial statements are free of material misstatements and are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Financial statements are presented in 2 formats. The governmental-wide, which recognizes fixed assets, long-term liabilities, net income, loss, as you would see in a business. Then there's the fund financial statements, or the entity-wide statements. Now these have a short-term focus. They report inflows and outflows based on current resources for legal and budgetary needs. This is the method that we're going to be focusing on tonight. The balance sheet. The balance sheet only includes governmental funds. The village has 2 types of funds, the general fund and the special revenue funds, which includes the 3 street funds and the drug forfeiture fund. Looking at the first column, the general fund, you'll see that a majority of the assets are in the form of cash and investments, which is checking, savings, and a certificate of deposit. Moving down to the liabilities section, there's approximately $42,000 in accrued wages and benefits. These are amounts due to employees for wages that were expenditures for the March 2013 year end, but were paid in the next fiscal year. Moving down a line, unearned unavailable revenues of $58,000 is amounts due to the village from outside sources, but isn't available to meet current obligations. Finally, 40% of total liabilities is due to other funds. Now this isn't just the funds listed here on this page. It could also include the water, sewer, or possibly the tax funds. Moving over a column to local street fund. Majority of the assets in the local street fund are due from other funds with $15,000. And there were no significant liabilities at the end of the year. Major Street Fund in the next column had $54,000 in cash and cash equivalents, and there was approximately $25,000 due to other funds that make up a majority of the liabilities for the Major Street Fund. Finally, the Municipal Street Fund had $370,000 in cash and cash equivalents, $36,000 was due to other funds, and again, the municipal street didn't have any significant liabilities at year end. The Statement of Revenue Expenditures and Changes in Fund Balance is a governmental form of an income statement. This is where you'll see how your fund balance was affected during the year. I'm actually going to start with the street funds. The local street fund has only one source of income, which is from the state of Michigan in the form of Act 51 funds. After general operating expenses for the year, $15,000 of the fund balance was used to cover current year operations, leaving a fund balance of $21,000. Now, the state of Michigan requires that a fund balance be at least 10% of annual expenditures. The Government Office of Accountability recommends 2 months of expenditures. So the local street's $21,000 at the end of the year is approximately 50% of current year's expenditures. Moving over to the Major Street Fund, Again, this fund only receives revenues from the state of Michigan from Act 51. Major Street actually had some capital outlay expenditures in a amount of $220,000. This was for the Burke's Spencer Street project. And then if you move down just a little bit more, you'll see the $145,000 that was transferred over from the municipal street to help cover some of this cost. As a result, $54,000 was used from the Major Street Fund balance during the year. Finally, the Municipal Street Fund, which derives its income from property taxes. After operating expenses for the year and the $145,000 that was transferred over to the Major Street Fund, there was approximately $48,000 that was used from the Municipal Street Fund for the year, leaving a $400,000 fund balance at year end. Now this fund balance seems like it well exceeds any recommendations or requirements. However, the municipal street, because of it being used to help fund other projects in the local and major streets, it's a little bit harder to predict or judge how well that fund balance is actually doing. And a year after or during a major project, your balance may be smaller than if you didn't have any projects ongoing for a while. Okay. Bear with me a minute. I forgot about the general. I wanted to just move back. We're going to talk about the general fund. The general fund for the year used $31,000 of its fund balance during the year, leaving a fund balance of $364,000, which is 41% of annual expenditures. We're going to take a closer look now at those revenues and expenses. Total revenues and expenses total revenues for the year increased $118,000 from last year. A majority of this is $114,000 that was received from Macomb County for CDBG. Now you'll see an offsetting expense for the same amount. And this $114,000 is in that second line, interest and miscellaneous. 42% of total revenues is property taxes, which decreased from last year. Seems you're still experiencing some effects of declining property values. Finally, 20% of total revenue is from state shared revenues, and this increased from last year. Go to the next slide and take a look at a 7-year trend. You'll notice that the general fund revenue sharing and the distribution to the streets in the form of Act 51 both had increases in the last 2 years. So this is a good sign. Moving on to the expenditures. Total expenditures for the general fund increased $200,000 from last year. As I mentioned earlier, $114,000 of that is from CDBG, which is in the recreation, other, and transfers line. Public Works also had an increase from last year, which was for the purchase of a dump truck and a cargo van. Looking at expenditures by type, you'll notice that over 50% of total expenditures are in the form of wages, benefits, and payroll taxes. This is typical for a municipality. And that capital outlay of $133,000, that includes the vehicles that were purchased for both the DPW and the police department. And the other, the line item for other includes the $114,000 from CDBG. Now let's take a look at the business type activities of the village, the water and the sewer fund. The sewer fund had approximately 13% of its current assets in the form of cash and equivalents. $293,000 of this is restricted for the sewer replacement. The majority of assets in the sewer fund are in the form of fixed assets, which includes the sewer system, sewer separation, and machinery and equipment. Moving down to the liabilities section, accounts payable and due to other funds makes up a majority of the liabilities here. The water fund had $310,000 in cash and equivalents. $203,000 is restricted for the dwarf bond. Like the sewer fund, the water fund, the majority of the assets are in the form of fixed assets. However, moving down to the liabilities section, you'll notice that 99% of the water fund's liabilities are bonds payable, which are for the 2004 water supply revenue bond, which has 11 years remaining. Now, unlike the governmental funds, business type activity funds do not have a fund balance. They have something that's similar. It's called unrestricted. And the sewer fund's $238,000 unrestricted balance at year end is approximately 50% of annual expenditures. And the water fund at $263,000 is about 90% of this year's annual expenditures. The statement of revenue, expenses, and changes in net income, or net position, the income statement, everyone's favorite. Business type activities generate their revenues from user fees. The sewer fund, after operating expenses, had a $175,000 net decrease during the year. Now, included in that operating expense is $177,000 of depreciation expense, which is a non-cash expense. So when we take that into consideration, the sewer fund would have about $1,300 net increase. The water fund, after operating expenses, operating and non-operating expenses, had a $112,000 net increase. And when we consider the non-cash depreciation expense here, it would be about $236,000. Which both of these are similar to what they have been, for both of these funds, it's similar to what they have been in the past. Now I'm going to turn it over to Curtis, who had a couple other things he would like to add.
Okay, I think most of you are familiar with me, but for those who are not familiar with me, my name is Curtis McBride. I'm a partner at McBride, Manley & Company. I've actually managed the village's audit probably since 2000. That's as long as I've been involved with the village. Amy has really been my right-hand person since she started back in 2007. So I'm very familiar with what goes on a daily basis here. Joe and I are constantly in contact, as well as Becky. So before I go any farther, this is something I kind of started new here. This handout that I've distributed to all of you, it's not for public use, so please don't distribute it outside of here. The reason is it's not a full copy of our audited financial statements, so it could be taken out of context. This isn't a full set of statements, and it doesn't have our audit opinion on it. So this is for your convenience to follow along with this presentation. So I please ask you not to distribute it. I'm going to go over some of my summary of the audit, some of the concerns I have, some of the good things that I've noticed. The most important thing that you probably gathered from Amy's part of the presentation is that the village's fund balances are healthy. Looking at the general fund, as Amy said, the state of Michigan recommends that you have a minimum fund balance of about 10% of annual expenditures in that fund. And the general fund is in excess of that. Going over to the local major street funds, you have the same situation. When you compare it to that 10% minimum, most of the village's funds are in the 20 to 50% range. The state of Michigan recommends the 10%. We're a little bit more conservative. We'd like to see that more at 15 to 20. But even based on that standard, the village is in pretty good shape as far as that's concerned. So the fund balances are healthy for the village at the end of March 31st, 2013. This is something that is a little bit of a concern for me that I've been talking to you guys about the last couple of years, and I'm going to keep bringing it up so that you're prepared for it. It is projected that the DDA fund will need assistance from the general fund to meet its debt obligations for the DDA bond. I have a slide coming up after this where I've come up with an estimate of when I think the general fund is going to have to start paying for that debt. Significant improvements were made with respect to accounting for transactions between funds. If you guys remember last year when we came here, one of the findings we had was that it wasn't always clear when you guys transferred money between funds, whether it was a transfer between the fund or it was an actual a liability amount due to or due from. So we recommended that you guys maybe be a little bit more clear, you know, in your council meetings and documentation, the board minutes, and that was much better this year. So really, you guys should be commended for that, and of course the internal accounting department also. So really, that takes up quite frankly, that aspect probably takes up 30 to 35% of our audit, trying to tie those out. So again, you guys did a great job with that this year. My next slide is my projection for the DDA shortfall. Now I do apologize. I think Joe, you probably have an updated number for the tax capture.
For 2012,
For 13-14.
2012 tax season.
Right.
Okay. I can't see yours from here, but
Well, for 2013, the tax capture was about $313,000. If you go all the way to the very right, you can see that was the bond, that was the shortfall from the tax collection, about $18,000. And if you follow down with your fiscal year, so at March 31, 2014, I'm projecting another $18,000 shortfall. Right now, the DDA fund has about $116,000 in cash. So what that means is I'm projecting that in about 2017 or 2018, the general fund is going to have to start paying the debt service payments for the DDA fund, okay? So when you look at the bond shortfall here for 2017 and 2018, we'll go to 2018. So that's telling me that in 2018, you're going to have to find $25,000 in your general fund budget to make up for that shortfall, okay? And going down here, you can see that that actually increases over time. So in 2024, you're going to have to find $33,000 in your general fund budget to account for that shortfall. So I just want you guys to be prepared for this, and when you're going through your budget process, you really need to take this stuff into consideration. Now, I would recommend taking care of it earlier as opposed to waiting until 2017 or 2018. So you really should be budgeting to have, you know, $25,000 to $30,000 increases in your fund balance annually. I would recommend doing that right now.
Would we put it in a bond or something to hold off?
no, just put it in the DDA account.
Oh, put it actually in the DDA account, make a
If-
transfer?
Yeah, if you want to start transferring funds to it. It's a little bit hard to predict because right now we know we're in a negative capture. So
Correct.
DDA is getting nothing this year.
Okay.
But we're starting to see an increase in property values.
Exactly.
So that, I'm sure by the time we get to the end of the bond, the DDA is going to pick up some of its own debt again. It'll never recover to be able to pick up all of it.
Correct.
But it will pick up some.
Yeah, due to some of the, and of course Jeff would note some of the constitutional limitations for property taxes, it's going to be very difficult for the DDA fund to ever recover to the property tax level that it did before, due to Proposal A,
Right.
primarily in Proposal A. So
Is that 2027 the last bond payment?
that is correct.
Okay.
So you can see the second column on the right there, amount, annual debt service per bond schedule. So that's your annual.
Right.
So in other words, 2027, you have 41,800
Oh, I
debt
see,
service payments.
that's less than a year.
Real quickly, is that about $270,000 that would be short, roughly?
If you take into consideration the $116,000 though, then you're more like at 170, so 150 to 160. If you take into consideration the cash that's currently sitting in your DDA fund.
Divided by how many years, how much a year should we put aside?
If I take 2018 and go down, look at 100,000 or 200.
Oh, I see. Right. No, you're right.
270, just going from your line where you say would potentially happen.
You're correct.
Okay.
It is 270.
So
Approximately.
270 divided by how many years, Mike? So 27,000 a year we should be putting aside into the DDA.
Right. And it makes sense when you look at the bond shortfall. That would be about the average. If you think of it that way, about 27.
Okay. Some what's on our budget.
But, to put it into perspective, all things considered, there are other communities out there that are in a lot worse shape than this. There's no question about that. I mean, you have communities that are struggling with their pension, retirees' health care. We live in a world, unfortunately, now where we're considering bankruptcies for municipalities. So, for this to be, the primary issue for you guys, that's really not, when you put it into perspective, it's not a horrible thing. And you guys still have time to remedy this situation. I mean, that's the other good thing.
Is there a possibility of refinancing that loan?
No. I certainly don't want to make this recommendation, but there are things you can do with property taxes, is my understanding too, if you had to. But, again, I think that would probably, most of you would probably consider that the last resort.
Does anyone-
No resort. That was promised not to
Right,
happen.
and we promised that would not
That will
happen.
not happen.
You're talking about the 2% leverage
Right.
levy? Yeah, we promised that would not happen.
Are there any questions from anyone? Did you have anything else, Curtis?
That's all I have.
Good job, Joe and Becky.
Good job,
Good
Curtis.
job, good
Oh,
job.
and
Becky.
I do want to clarify something. You brought up a great question before I presented. Sherry brought up a great question about our journal entries. She noticed there was a thick packet of journal entries. That's kind of tricky. What happened is there was a pronouncement issued back in 2003. Gee, it's been that long. I remember it was earth-shattering. It was called GASB 34. Okay, it required that we presented some of your financial statements on a full accrual basis, which was completely different than what you were used to. Okay, so we had to start putting fixed assets on there, long-term debt. We utilize a program where we actually download your QuickBooks and we make journal entries not only for your own internal purposes, but to get our financial statements in compliance with GAAP. But anytime we do anything to manipulate records or propose adjustments, we have to submit them to you. So really, I would probably say that more than half of those are a result of those kinds of adjustments. But it was a very good question, yeah.
A lot of them were depreciation.
Yep, yeah, and that tells you right there. In depreciation,
Yeah.
in other words, when you look at the general fund, you're not going to see depreciation expense. But when we had to do the conversion for the new, the new parts of the statement that we have to have now, we have to make those adjusted journal entries. It's not something that you track internally for budgeting purposes, and in fact, you're not required or you're not expected to for your annual budget.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Great job. Good job, Amy.
Thank you.
Excellent
Good
job.
job.
As usual.
Okay, so everyone has a motion in front of them. NB3A.
Oh, Madam President, would you mind if I do it?
No, please.
To accept the audit for fiscal year ending March 31st, 2013, and to place on file.
Motion by Mr. Stewart. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Valerie. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next agenda item is the auditor's proposal for the 2014 audit. Are there any public comments?
Actually, that should be 2013. On the agenda, it's 2013.
I'm sorry.
2014.
Oh, 2013,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I didn't change it, sorry.
Okay. Are there any public comments?
You're sure it's not 14?
The next
Audit
audit,
is 2000.
the next, they would be auditing 2013.
Cool, okay.
Any public
Right.
comments?
It's the March 31, 2014 audit.
Is that what it's called?
Correct.
Okay, all right, we'll forget it then. That's fine. Okay, 2014.
It is the 14th. Yeah, okay.
Good, all right, whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Hearing no public comments,
Thanks for
I'll
the
move it
comment,
back.
Curtis.
Treasurer Adair, this is your agenda item.
That's what we presented before, a little prematurely. Yeah, Sherry signed it. It's for the auditors to prepare the audit, that they just basically gave you the rundown of the current years.
This is for next year.
So this will be for this year, our working year, this budget. I have no qualms accepting it. I think they do an awesome job. I can't imagine ever changing auditors.
The price is the same as last year, so the price has not gone up or anything?
That is correct.
Slightly increased.
I did check.
It's exactly.
It's exactly
exactly
the
the
same.
same.
I looked it up,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I looked it up, it went up.
Yeah, so did I.
Not by
It
the
went up
minutes.
$500.
The minutes showed 21,900.
I thought it went up CPI.
Maybe the,
You guys love
It went-
CPI.
It's okay, it went up for 2012 to 2013 should have gone up by a few $100.
Huh.
13 to 14 should not have gone up a dollar.
it was exactly the same
Right.
from the minutes.
Yes,
That's
right.
correct.
So what we're
I had time to
voting
look
on,
at the bill today.
Well, I've got my minutes in my drawer, I can pull them out for you. It's the exact same as the
What you
minutes.
could be
they
seeing, I
didn't
don't mean
bill
to
us
interrupt, you
much.
could be seeing is, you have to remember, if she pays an audit, it's in the year that she pays it is for the prior year.
Prior year.
So you may have been looking at the
Oh,
wrong
I'm
one.
okay, I see what you're saying.
John, when was the last time we bid this out? I know I asked last year.
I've been here 19, 20 years. We never bid it out. I don't see a reason to. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've never been out of compliance. We've had everything in order. When we need something, it's at our fingertips. I see no reason to bid it out.
Okay. And the MML recommends bidding it out how often?
I didn't know that they made a recommendation to bid it
The
out.
MML was in. Madam President, I'll resolve to approve the proposal from McBride Manley and Company PC for audit services for the fiscal year ending March 31, 2014, in the amount of $21,900, and to allow the president to sign on the village's behalf.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Wolof. Any other discussion? I believe it's a roll call.
Baylor?
Yes.
Wolak?
Yes.
Stewart?
Yes.
Audie?
No.
Conan?
yes,
Cooper?
Yes,
Clark?
Yes.
motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you guys want to stay for the rest of the meeting? or-
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Should check your minutes, Michelle.
No, I might have done the same thing. That might have asked that too.
She probably did, you're probably right, she looked at the last bill that was paid. That's even better for us. That's nice.
Okay, next agenda item is the engineering for the Main Street project. Are there any public comments? Please stand up if you have any comments. Hearing none. Oh, yes.
Just FYI thing, so the Main Street project, 2014 Main Street project is going from the Township Hall to the east of the village boundaries, correct? And what's the duration of the road shutdown?
The duration of the road shutdown.
Sure, or duration of the project.
Oh, how
You're
long,
gonna
the
shut the road down to
timetable?
do that, correct?
The
You're gonna do
timetable
underground.
that's proposed, are you asking
Yeah.
for?
Yeah,
Andy, you have that there, right?
Yeah, I have a really preliminary one, but until we bid it out and go through the engineering, we won't realistically know a set time. So
Yeah,
I have to
then-
give.
I just want to put it into the ABA thing to let everybody know that it's happening.
Well, we will be
Yeah.
awarding the project in September.
Okay.
That engineer, it's up to them to come up with the construction timeline.
Okay.
It's conflict of interest, they can't do that because they're a
Understood.
village engineer. So we will have more information on that in September when we actually award the project. I'm assuming that'll be part of the bid documents, is that correct, the timetable?
Yeah.
So we will get it right in our bid documents, so we'll have it in September.
Okay. Then you could maybe let me know.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Man, may I add one thing? It doesn't appear till like summer of next year that this project will be
I
going
know,
on.
but.
I don't want you to think that we're gonna get a bid out in September and we start the project in December or something like that. You know, it's several months down the pipeline.
True, but like Sunrise, it has heavy trucks coming in all the time. You're gonna kind of need to do stuff, or made of rubber. You know, they're gonna need to reroute. Some of that rerouting really should take place long before the project's done.
Correct. Right. Any other questions? Okay. Any other public questions? Hearing none, Street Administrator Ballard, this is your agenda item.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, Giffords Webster previously recommended the village council go out for bid for our preliminary engineering and construction engineering for the 2014 East Main Street Road Rehabilitation Project. Take full advantage of the reimbursable funds that are going to be available. that are available, excuse me. In order to be eligible for reimbursement, these funds, the local engineer, or our engineer, cannot perform these design services per the newly enforced federal highway conflict of interest standards, which has been attached to you someplace in this document. Giffords Webster's completed the amendment to the TIP fund and prepared the RFP documents per previous council action. And Giffords Webster is seeking council approval to advertise and request for proposals for the preliminary and construction engineering portions of the 2014 East Main Street reconstruction. With this action, Giffords Webster will advertise the RFP on the 23rd of this month and expect the bid opening of, well, it says August 8th here at 1 p.m., but
September
Change the
I think it's September 8th.
September 5th.
September 5th.
This
I'm
was the
sorry.
one that originally came over, this agenda statement.
September 5th at 1 p.m. So, if there's any questions for me, I can take them this time. Basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this thing out for bid.
And you're gonna put it out on Wednesday, right? So that'll be the 15th as opposed to the 23rd of this month?
Yeah, I think they do the 14th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so it's
Wednesday
not the
the 14th,
23rd either, it's the 14th.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't see the new
That's okay.
statement over.
I've got one question for Andy. Looking at the as-bills, it doesn't mention electronic data, but then when I saw the sample thing, they mention electronic along with the as-bills. So I just want to make sure it doesn't get missed in the lead-off thing versus the sample.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's gonna be the contract that's gonna dictate.
Okay.
I'll make sure to check over there.
I got a question. The sample is not the document we're using? Is that correct?
Sample
I got
is just for
confused.
just for them to realize what the usual engineering surveying contract is. That's still gonna be reviewed by Jeff and gone over with the winning engineer.
Okay. Because I wanted to, there was a couple things that I noticed. In this sheet, one's called reconstruction, one's called rehabilitation. I would suggest making them the same if it's a one project, it's one or the other. I did notice soil borings is included in both, so that was good. The other thing on the sample, it said attend village council meetings. In the item 2, I don't even know what page it says. On the sample, at the bottom, I don't even know where to tell you guys where to go, but it said
What's one of the headings on the page?
it has the time frame at the very top. It just basically says attend village council meetings at no expense to the village, to be available to answer questions that may arise. I remember this being a problem, Madam President, when we did North Fulton. The engineers argued with us that they weren't supposed to be here, or something like that. They were here at enough meetings. I just want to make sure that the next main road project, that they're expected to be here, because we have questions, and if they're not here, then what's happening? You know what I mean? So I didn't know, the sample, I don't know if it's in the other one that you put, because I saw it over there. I'm not sure it's in this RFP.
I don't believe it is in the actual RFP.
This one here, there are sample borings. Soil borings.
Yeah, but that's just the sample, right? In the RFP, I didn't see,
Yeah, they're in there.
I didn't see the council meetings. I just think that that's important.
Oh, I see, you can see the council.
Because we got kind of, I wouldn't say burned, but we should be made aware. And if you're not the engineer on the project, then that engineer needs to be here. And the last thing I had was, and I think I brought this up too, what are you charging us to do this project? We're asking for a request from the external engineer. And I know you're the engineer of record or whatever the title is. What is going to be your cost to us for this project? Do we know that?
For now, we would just be as needed whenever you guys wanted us to review it. So we don't have a set fee for that. Other than that, they're going to be they're going to be coming up with the construction plans and doing the construction administration. We won't have any involvement other than if you guys ask us to review it or work with them.
So you're not even doing any inspections or anything, they're taking care of everything?
Yeah,
That's the other.
per that document from the Federal Highway Administration, we can't. I mean, we could review it as the village if you asked us to, or the village itself can, but.
I'm sure if we come into
would
a
have
problem,
part. Yeah.
have them involved. Hopefully everything runs smoothly.
This conflict of interest, the way I understand it, believe me, I could be wrong, but the village engineer, okay, who represents us, cannot design or oversee, correct?
Correct.
Okay. He can represent us to the designing and inspection or overseeing engineers, all right? Which, I don't know why, but I guess that's something out of Washington or something. But as I look this over, I'm glad you brought these things up. That's very good. I don't see anything in here. This is strictly for us to go out for bid for the construction portion, the designing of the road and the supervision of the project, right? Okay, I want to make that clear so everybody knows that. Is there any other questions?
Well, going back to what I said, I'm not against having Giffords in some capacity represent the village. I don't want to get a bill for $30,000. And if we did, let's say we had to pay you $5,000 to represent the village, is that billable under this project to get reimbursed?
I'd have to look into it, but you should have a certain portion that you can use to have someone represent.
Okay.
The majority of your expenses should be approved ahead of time. That's what we've done in other projects. South Fulton was an entirely different situation. We had engineers there every meeting, but that was all pre-approved.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Well, before we would award the engineering, that would be a provisional order. That would have to be, because if I've got an engineer out there that's inspecting this thing, and he doesn't want to come to the meeting and answer questions that we have, I don't need that engineer, I'll be very honest with you. That's my feelings right from the gut. I don't want an engineer that won't be here at these meetings.
Anyone else have any other questions? Mr. Stewart, is that?
That was all I had. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Madam President, I will resolve to keep with the Federal Highway Conflict of Interest Standards, and I move to allow the village engineer, Giffords Webster, to advertise and oversee the bidding selection process for the professional engineering and surveying service for the 2014 East Main Street Road Rehabilitation Project.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Good job, Andy. Good job, Lyle. Next agenda item is the Macomb Orchard Trail Romeo to Richmond race. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none. This is my agenda item. I received a letter in the mail. Thank you, Michelle. From John Crum. He's been doing this every year. Again, he's just asking for advanced approval for them to, they're gonna handle the closing of our road. A sheriff is gonna be riding alongside the riders and closing down our road so the riders can continue on through. They're handling all the logistics. The only thing we're gonna do is let them use the trail. Does anyone have any questions?
And we approved it last year?
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
Madam President, I make a motion to allow the Romeo to Richmond Half Marathon to cross Fulton Street on September 15, 2013.
Motion by Mr. Stewart. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clark. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Michelle. Next agenda item is the approval for payment to subcontracted fair workers. Are there any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, Treasurer Adair, this is your agenda item.
Well, this is for the people that are working with Chief for security at the fair. And if we don't get it approved now, then we have to wait till next meeting. Some of them are going to be waiting 2 weeks, 3 weeks before they can get paid. So we want to just put it in with regular payroll and pay everybody at the same time. Makes life simple.
Do we know what the budget is for this? How much money is involved?
It's reimbursed, isn't it?
Yes,
These funds are all reimbursed by the fair.
Okay.
Usually that's always,
it's
yeah.
in the contract.
It's already set up, they know how many people we're using and,
Scheduling's all done.
okay.
Any other questions? Mr. Wallach?
I'll move to allow for the payment to subcontracted fair workers on August 22nd, 2014.
Motion by Mr. Wallach. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Conan. Any other discussion? Would you do a roll call on that? Roll call, please.
Bullock,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Audi,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Baylor,
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes. Motion passes. Okay. Any other upcoming agenda items anyone has? How about your flight pump? Do you want to put that back on again?
Not this time, Madam President, we're waiting.
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm gonna
Wait.
wait.
Perfect. Okay. Any other upcoming agenda items?
We have possibly a policy and procedure from the police department that Howard's gonna talk to you about it, so that's possible.
Okay. Any other upcoming agenda items? Hearing none? Any citizen comments? Mr. Deluncchi?
If I heard right, the Macomb Orchard Trail race was September 15th.
It is going to be, yes. They're hoping for it to be.
Okay, well, I just want to know, because I want to make sure that the benches are in for that.
Oh, yep. It's
They're all
supposed to
made,
be.
all I gotta do is put them in.
They send this letter around to all the communities to make sure that it's all okay with them and there's nothing that's going to be getting in the way. Once they get the approval from all the communities, then they go ahead and actually schedule it. But
Oh,
their
okay,
tentative
cool.
date is September 15th that they've asked.
Good, okay, I noted that.
Okay.
Yeah, two.
Yes.
Okay, so the other thing is the jams in the park. The Armada Business Association would like to thank the village for allowing us to participate in the last concert. I think it's a great event, it's a co-event. I was told by somebody who came in at 7:30 that they parked all the way in the back of the administration building parking lot. There were that many people there.
It was packed.
Yes, it was
It was
really good
really
turnout,
great.
and every year it gets a little bigger. Hopefully we can keep on going that way.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a really nice night.
Yeah.
It was, and we should really be thanking the ABA because you guys brought all the food. It
Yeah.
was a fun party. People brought their whole families. The kids were running around with ice cream. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I want to thank Harry and Sam for all of the work that they put in on the JAMS program. I think it's one of the best things that's ever happened to the park.
So do I.
Good job.
Okay.
You're on 3 now.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, so this one, I'm gonna put my planning commission hat on. So, is there, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Bohorsky this one. So, if there's a problem with somebody in the village is about not coming into the planning commission, does the planning commission have any recourse to request something to be done? So I know it's the code enforcer's duty, but this has been going on for a month and a half, and now I understand that the code enforcer has finally done something, but the person that's in violation is actually the code enforcer for the township, which is really stepping on just, it's flagrant.
Right. In that particular instance that you're referring to, until the certificate of occupancy issue is determined,
in my judgment, it's got to run its course. We need to find out what activity is actually going on. Right now, it's speculation as to exactly the use of the building, and we're trying to address it so we can have some solid information for the Planning Commission to act upon. As far as remedies that the Planning Commission has, probably limited, because again, assuming that there was a violation of the zoning ordinance, it's a nuisance per se, which can be abated in circuit court, but the Planning Commission would have to make a referral to the council to do that. In the situation of tickets, those are being issued through the building officials. So I think there's an important role for the Planning Commission to play, Ben, but at this point, until we have a solid record documented as to what the use of that structure is, there's really not much the Planning Commission can do.
Well, any use of that building is in violation. So it doesn't matter what the use is, until you have a certificate of occupancy, it's no matter what the use of the building is, it's in violation.
I don't disagree with that. That's why we're trying to get the certificate of occupancy secured. Then under our ordinance, it's very clear that once the certificate of occupancy is applied for, a determination as to zoning compliance will have to be made. The C of O cannot go out until the Planning Commission, assuming that there is a requirement for Planning Commission approval, that C of O cannot go out under our zoning ordinance until the Planning Commission has made a determination. So I think we're approaching it the right way. I think, the end result we agree upon. It's just maybe in terms of procedure, but I'm confident that if the C of O is applied for, as it should have been, there will be a role for the Planning Commission to play. How do you apply for a C of O prior to getting Planning Commission approval? Doesn't
That's
the way it's supposed to work. The proposed business owner is supposed to come in and apply for the C of O, and on that he or she declares, this is my intended use. At that point, the building official has to make a determination before he can issue the C of O whether there's zoning compliance. If there's not, he has to refer it to the Planning Commission.
And you can't go and secure the facility in the meantime?
Who can?
The village?
What do you mean by secure?
Lock the doors.
Lock the doors?
No, you can't lock the doors. It's private property.
So what's the
I think Dennis has sent a letter here, what he's saying.
It's a month and a half late.
He sent a ticket.
I'm just going by,
Yeah, the last sentence.
okay.
So
Okay,
we're acting on it in the way we can act.
thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none. Any council comments? Any council comments? Hearing none. Any community events besides the Armada Fair everyone knows about? Any other community events? Okay, we are going to be getting into a closed session. Everyone has a motion in front of them. If someone could please make that motion.
Madam President, I'll resolve to enter into executive session at 8:01 after a 5-minute recess.
If I just may add this, so it's clear, Lyle, if you don't mind, this is on potential land acquisition, just so everybody knows what the purpose of it is.
Okay, motion by Mr. Ballard. Is there a second?
Support.
Support by Mr. Wallach. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify, oh, we have to roll call,
Yes.
sorry.
Ballard,
Yes.
Wallach,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes,
Audie,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
motion passes. Meeting is on recess. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, the camera does go off during a closed session, and we'll resume when we come back into our general meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Time is now 8:11 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ballard, seconded by Mr. Conan. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carried, meeting adjourned. Thank you.